The following program is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shh. He's getting some hawk shoes for his raptor talons. Ah! Dino Crisis is a survival horror game developed and published by Capcom and released for the PlayStation 1 on July 1st, 1999. The game would also receive a Dreamcast and Windows version a year later. Okay, this is a tricky one. I'm not sure where exactly I should start. I feel like it would have been so much easier if I had started with Resident Evil, but here we are.
Video games!
Okay, this is gonna be messy, but don't quote me on any of this. Let's go back to 1979. A company called IRM and its subsidiary, Japan Capsule Computers Corporation Limited, rolls right off the tongue. They enter the market of making video arcade games. Soon after, they would extend this business to porting their old arcade games to the Famicom. Throughout the 80s, the two companies would merge and at some point change their name to Sanbi Corporation Limited, and eventually a designation of Sanbi, which would be renamed to Capcom Corporation Limited. After doing business for about a decade, Sanbi would be met with bankruptcy sometime in the late 80s, which it would only narrowly avoid with the release of one game. A Hail Mary title that would pull the company from financial ruin and into what could arguably be considered its golden age. A title loved by millions. A title that would garner fans from around the globe and become a staple of, nah, I'm just fucking with you. It was Strip Mahjong. So, after being saved by the hard-earned yen of sweaty salarymen salivating over simulated strippers, Capcom Corporation Limited would merge with Sanbi Corporation Limited. Don't ask me how these corporate mergers work. I don't know. They do the fucking fusion dance or whatever. And this merger would lead to Capcom that we know and love today. Or, you know, the Capcom that we know and have a complicated relationship with today. I refuse to use the imaginary frames. So 1990 rolls around, and under the promise of a free buffet, a young merchandising student by the name of Shinji Mikami attends a job fair, where he would apply to both Capcom and Nintendo, but would only receive the call back from Capcom, who rejected him. Nah, don't worry, he got the job eventually. Over the next few years, Mikami would primarily work on Disney-licensed games for the Super Nintendo. How is my boy still on the street? Look at these rocks. Then, in 1993, he would begin to work on a game set in a haunted house, citing the 1989 Famicom game Sweet Home as his inspiration. This desire to set a game in a haunted house, along with his disappointment at the Lucio Fulci zombie movie Zombie 2, would eventually culminate in a title called Biohazard, or as it was known in the West, Resident Evil. People enjoyed Resident Evil. People enjoyed Resident Evil a whole hell of a lot. It would release in 1996, and by 1997 would have sold about 4 million copies, which is pretty good for 97. This success would land Mikami in the position of general manager of Capcom Production Studio 4, where he would oversee the production of both of Resident Evil's sequels, as well as setting out to direct a new project. A project that would ask the question, but what if we put dinosaurs in it? The year is 1999. Human civilization has reached its peak. It's all downhill from here. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. The place is Iblis Island. Somewhere on this island there is a nerd who was previously thought to be dead and is currently working on a clandestine project, potentially involving the development of a super weapon. And the government wants that weapon, or whatever it is he's working on. Realistically, they can probably work out how to use it in the worst possible way, regardless of what it is. Unless it be something so altruistic that they couldn't possibly use it for evil, at which they would probably just shelve it and shoot whoever made it in the back of the head. And that who would be one Dr. Kirk. The mission is to infiltrate the research facility on the island, secure whatever information on the project we can, and drag Kirk's ass back to civilization, because technically, that ass is government property. Those executing this mission will be
Gail, Rick, Regina, Cooper.
Speaking of, where is Cooper? Damn, Cooper's being O2 with the dinosaur attacks. Absolutely devastating. Pray for the homies named Cooper. Well, this is off to a good start. So after the flawless infiltration of the island, we can start our investigation. Unfortunately, we find nothing but a bunch of ominous bloodstains and torn fences.
Let me guess. This is some of your handiwork, right?
The brass is still warm. These guards were shooting at something very recently.
So who were they fighting?
This wasn't much of a fight. I don't think these guards hit anything before getting sliced and diced. Whatever they were shooting at came in through there and ripped right through the steel fence.
Well, the hole is nice and clean. But I still say you could have done this.
Very funny. We still need to figure out what happened here. Continue to sweep the area.
Let's get this power on.
Oh my god, is he dead?
That's disgusting. Gail?
What the fuck is that? Serpentine! Serpentine! Hey, fuck you! That's cheating, you can't do that!
Good news! I got the control system back online.
Rick, you are never gonna believe me, but we're in some sort of antediluvian dilemma. Such a stupid line.
Now that's a good one.
This isn't a joke, you idiot. We were just attacked by a big-ass lizard.
I really do appreciate how fast they accept the fact that these are indeed dinosaurs. Now that the chickens are out of the coop, we can get back to work. You know the drill. We gotta explore around, find keys, open doors, read memos, commit petty larceny. You know, that good shit. What is that noise? Oh my god! No, not again! How did it even get up there? Such majestic creatures. After a while, we make our way to the base's lower research labs.
Oh no!
The dinosaurs are one thing, but I'm just glad nothing here is color-coded. Now that might be a real problem. Now, in all honesty, it's not a hard puzzle, I'm just a colorblind idiot. This poor guy in the cell just has to keep getting gassed because I can't tell red and green apart. Pray for the homie. He dies anyway. Damn it! How do they keep opening the doors? God damn it! All they had to do was install round knobs, and none of this would have happened. Jurassic Park had the same problem. Did we learn nothing? Dumbass. We find the entrance to Kirk's lab, but he's not in there, and almost immediately after, someone triggers a total lockdown of the lab sector.
What's going on?
Warning. The emergency lockdown has been bypassed. You have 10 minutes until this section is sealed off.
We'd better get moving. We've bypassed the door lock and we're on our way out.
That's great, but the entire underground area is crawling with dinosaurs. You'll never be able to make it through there.
Don't sweat it. I'll take them all out one by one if I have to.
Brilliant plan, fearless leader, but I have a better one.
Silence, Twink! This is no time for your technomancy. This is a time for action! After narrowly escaping the lab, we meet up with Gale, and it looks like he's found our good doctor.
So this must be the elusive Dr. Kirk.
Yeah. Gave us quite a run for our money. You get around, don't you? Just like a rat. And you got this whole island set up as your little maze.
Well, I am glad I kept you entertained, tough guy.
Sassy little thing, isn't he? So, in order to call in a helicopter to come pick us up, we need a keycard. A card that Kirk has, but he's not giving it up, at least not without a little coercion. Now that that's taken care of, we just have to get the hell out of here. But before that, it's spoiler time. So if you don't want to know what happens to our ragtag group of government agents and our sassy little nerd, then go to here.
Regina, do you copy?
Finally, a signal.
Signal's weak. Interference. Static.
I'll give you the abridged version. Mission complete. Scrub the initial plans and pick us up at the heliport immediately.
You okay, Regina?
Where's Gale?
I don't know. Haven't heard a word from him.
That's odd. Something must have those animals spooked.
Fly up, idiot. Fly up. Oh, God damn it! You had one job! Oh shit.
Hang in there. I just need a little more time.
What do you mean, hold on a minute? Let me in, you rat! Go away! Go away!
Regina, over here!
It's about fucking time! Well, that's just great. We have no helicopter, no Kirk. Okay, looks like we're gonna need to find a new way out of here after wrangling back our sassy little scientist. Luckily, we find word of a dock and a hovercraft we can use to escape. Unfortunately, we can't get to that hovercraft because of this thing.
This vortex must be the side effect of the third energy experiment.
Oh, hey, another survivor. She's not looking too hot, but hopefully she'll wake up soon and we'll be able to help her out. Maybe she can tell us what the hell is going on. And continuing the good news, we found out how to get rid of that thing blocking the hovercraft door. All we have to do is overload the third energy generator. And to do that, we just need Kirk's ID. So the sooner we find him, the sooner we can get the hell out of here. What was that? Whoa! What, did she fucking explode? Jesus!
Don't move.
And what do you think you're doing?
Carving a name for myself in history with the ultimate energy source.
Open your eyes, you freak. Your precious creation is nothing more than another weapon to be misused.
You seem to have a small degree of superficial intelligence. It's too bad that it is wasted on one who is about to die.
Oh my god, that was so close to my fucking head. Jesus.
Our target has been
Well, it only took almost getting shot in the head twice to catch our sassy little doctor. Now we just need to get a couple pieces for the generator. We can grab the backups from one of the lower storage areas, or we can try and make the pieces with spare parts ourselves.
Don't be ridiculous. Regina doesn't have the technical knowledge for that.
Hey, fuck you, you don't know me. I can build a doohickey. I just don't want to. Yeah. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, what the hell is going on? You know why we're here, but like, what actually happened? What is third energy? Why are there dinosaurs here? Why is Kirk such an asshole? We don't get an answer for that last one, but we do get an answer for the other two. So, our sassy science bitch over here was originally tasked with creating a new way to get clean, cheap energy. During his research, he discovered what he coined as third energy, which, to my understanding, isn't an energy source, but instead is basically a way to take the same space from two different time periods and switch them. So basically, they took all the fauna that was living here about 65 million years ago and brought them to the present. So that's why there's a bunch of dinosaurs and dead assholes everywhere. Time travel never works. It never works. Why do they keep doing it? Just stop it. Alright, now we've got the pieces, so let's start the generator and finally get the hell out of here.
Third energy output is approaching critical point.
Huh? The ceiling! Move it!
You fool. What was the point in saving me? How pathetic.
How does this idiot keep getting away? Why don't we just put him in handcuffs or like take his shoes? Okay. So after dragging Gale out from under the vent, we get our final choice. We can go after Kirk with Gale or just hightail it out of here. And don't you worry, we're gonna get Kirk, but Gale's gonna sit this one out. We can just go straight to the hovercraft, but we're not going to do that. We still got a few doors down here that we haven't been through yet. One of which leads us to this weird sideways elevator room that leads to another sideways elevator room that I always get confused and end up backtracking to the previous elevator room and then running around in circles because both the rooms look exactly the same, but they have different camera orientations until I finally get the correct sideways elevator. And that elevator leads us to the underground heliport. I was gonna put a pun here, but I can't think of anything dinosaur related, so here's Kirk getting his ass kicked again.
Regina, what are you doing? Answer me! What have you been doing? The hovercraft's just being destroyed by the T-Rex.
What? How does it know?
That T-Rex is right behind us. We gotta move fast.
Let's go.
Oh god, it's still not dead. Why does the helicopter have a big Looney Tunes bomb attached to it? I thought this was a science facility.
That dinosaur just doesn't give up.
He's still after us.
I'm gonna flash fry that dino dodo.
And with that, we escape Dinosaur Island with only having suffered a light gnawing. Except, all the people that died. And Gale got crushed by a vent. And Cooper got eaten. Hey, but at least we're okay. Kirk continues his shady experiments under the watchful eye of the government, which I'm sure won't end horribly, and everybody else gets to return to work, I guess. So I will say that getting the hovercraft ending treats you to one of the genuinely funniest visuals. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You gotta look at this shit. The speed. Look at my boy go. So, Dino Crisis was not marketed as a straight-up survival horror game, but instead marketed as a panic horror game. The distinction being that the horror in Dino Crisis would not be a slow burn, but instead fast and frantic. As director Shinji Mikami would put it, in Resident Evil, if you could make it to a room and close the door behind you, then it was a temporary reprieve, a moment to catch your breath. This time, the dinosaurs will smash through walls and doors to get you. You can never let your guard down. Escape for the player thus means running, always running. That's the kind of terror I wanted to have, terror with a sense of speed. Resident Evil was more about the fear of what might be lurking around the next corner. In Dino Crisis, the menace doesn't just wait there, it comes right for you. Panic horror is a really apt way to describe the game, where other survival horror games would rely on atmosphere or fear of what lurked beyond the next door. Dino Crisis would rely more on being constantly pursued by dinosaurs. Now, it's not to say that Dino Crisis doesn't have those things, but the fear of being hunted definitely takes priority. Its intent is to give rise to that Paleolithic caveman part of your brain that says, you are being hunted, more than anything else. Pursuit by ravenous proto-avians is never a matter of if, it is only a matter of when and how many. Not only is the predatory poultry bigger and faster than you, but they will indeed burst through doors in order to chase you into new areas. While there is an asterisk next to when and where the dinosaurs can chase you through doors, it's still tense and thrilling when it happens. trying to run away from the raptors, hearing the clank of their claws as they get closer and closer, trying to reach the next door or laser gate in order to put as much distance between you and them as you can. It's never not fun being chased around, and the strength and the speed of the dinos always makes you feel like you're at a disadvantage. It's a good gameplay loop, and it feels distinct from other survival horror games, which is really nice. You can choose to fight, but your chances of succeeding are spotty at best. The dinos shrug off most of the smaller pistol rounds, and even the shotgun takes a few shells to put one down for good. And aside from getting straight up mauled, the dinos can knock the weapons out of your hand, forcing you to scramble to pick them back up. They can also give you a laceration, which causes a bleed that causes Regina's health to slowly drain until it's healed with a hemostat. Now, while bullets are rare and honestly kind of ineffective, and considering we don't get law rockets until Dino Crisis 2, we can give the dinosaurs drugs and change their biochemistry in ways that nature never intended. How this works is with a crafting system. You can mix various drugs you find in order to create health kits or tranquilizer darts, and the more you mix an item, the stronger its dosage gets, which for the health kits mean they heal more, and for the sedatives, it makes the dinos sleep longer and makes it overall less sensitive when you're walking near it so it doesn't wake up as easily. I feel like this really complements the overall balance of the game. You usually have enough supplies that you can cobble something together, but more often than not, you're going to have to choose between the drugs you get to enjoy yourself and the ones you're going to share. Putting the dinos to sleep instead of killing them also adds a little nuance to the gameplay. I feel like it makes you consider your choices a little more carefully, because you can spend the resources to deal with a dino or two now, but they'll eventually get up, or you can just try your hand at dodging them. It makes you consider where to spend your resources in order to make navigation a little easier. Kind of makes me think of like how the Crimson Heads in the Resident Evil remake work. It feels like it's like a similar principle. Another quirk this game has is the plug boxes. So instead of your standard safe room item box, there are these color-coded plug boxes strewn throughout the facility. Each box takes between 1 and 3 plugs in order to open. When you do open them, they have assorted goodies inside, as well as letting you store whatever you don't want to be carrying around. What's interesting is that any box of a single color is accessible from any box of the same color, and continuing Dino Crisis' trend of removing the player's safe spaces, these boxes aren't necessarily in safe areas. You find them in random hallways, so you might have to put yourself in danger in order to get to them. The downside I found to these things is that you don't really have to use them. More often than not, you'll be able to make do with the supplies that you pick up regularly, and since key items get their own inventory, you're not exactly as strapped for space as you are in other games. Like, I know the first couple playthroughs I hoarded these plugs thinking that I'd need them later down the line, but I never really did. This seems to be about as good a time as any to talk about the inventory. So, you have 2 different inventories, one for key items, which I already mentioned, and another for everything else. For your standard inventory, you have like these 2 pages that you can kind of flip through, and it's not bad. I just don't like the way it looks. I like a grid or a block-based inventory. I just don't like this, and I don't know why. I've never liked the way this looks. I don't know. Puzzles! There are many puzzles here, specifically word puzzles. How these work is there are a number of doors locked around the facility, and instead of having like a more traditional key, you need to find these 2 DDK discs in order to open them. What you have to do is subtract the letters from the key area at the bottom from the letters at the top to make a password. Usually the passwords have something to do with the areas you're trying to access. It starts off as just letters, then the letters get substituted with numbers, and then the numbers could either represent a letter or an entire row of letters that you need to remove. First off, just let me pause here for a minute on the word row. When you need to remove a row, what do you think that means? If you think like me, then what you're probably thinking is like a horizontal line like this is a row. That's wrong. Row refers to these vertical columns, like this. So, right off the bat, you already got me fucked up. I know that most of these the puzzles are just simple reduction, but like, goddamn, some of these made me feel like a fucking idiot. For some reason, just telling me that a number can represent a letter or an entire row, I don't know, it broke something in my brain. I usually like word puzzles too, but some of these threw me for a fucking loop. I had to look up at least one of them. Most of the time, I could solve them, even though sometimes I would just find a few letters and then just kind of brute force the rest. Overall, I think they're pretty good. They require more thought than like a simple item puzzle, and it was a nice change of pace. There's another interesting idea here for puzzles that they didn't really flesh out, and that's with the ID cards. How these work is you need to find an employee number and the fingerprints of said employee, and then you can overwrite the card's ID at like these little stations with that employee's credentials. You only have to do this like twice in the game, but I could see it being a really interesting mechanic. Like, you could give every corpse on the map a little name tag, and you'd have to check all the corpses in order to get the right information to unlock certain areas, or like maybe have like personalized lockers or something. Maybe the Dino is carried off a hand and you need those fingerprints, so you gotta go find it. Like, you could do some interesting things with this, and it would make the corpses on the map feel more than just set dreading, damn. You could do some interesting things with this, and it would make the corpses on the map feel like more than just set dressing. Unfortunately, they don't really end up doing much of anything with it. How saving works is kind of weird. Instead of there being some kind of item or usable object needed to save, the player is asked if they want to save every time they leave one of the save rooms. On top of unlimited saves, you also get a non-replenishable number of continues that can be used when you die, and it just like puts you back to the last door you entered. While it is strange for this type of thing to be in a survival horror game, I did find a quote from Mikami in a pre-release interview explaining its inclusion. In addition to save points, we're planning to add a continue system, but precisely how many continues to give, or whether to make them infinite or not, that's what we're currently struggling with. Since I want to convey the terrifying nature of these dinosaurs, it would feel really weird if you didn't die after 1 or 2 bites from the dino. But that also means that the slightest mistake on the player's part equals a game over. On the other hand, if we let you redo the scenes over and over, it diminishes the terror. Yeah, these game difficulty questions are, well, difficult. I'm pretty sure in the vanilla version you get 5 continues per playthrough, but in the GOG version you get 30, which I thought was a bit much. Overall, this was another aspect of Dino Crisis that I didn't really interact with, because to be honest, Dino Crisis is kind of an easy game. I feel like most of the difficulty leans more on like the puzzles than the actual survival. Okay, I'm gonna stop again for mild spoilers. So if you don't want mild spoilers, then skip ahead like 2 minutes. Okay, this feels like a good time to mention that Dino Crisis has no boss fights, which is a decision I felt supremely strange. I was waiting the entire game for like a proper standoff against the Rex, or like a big dinosaur, another big dinosaur to show up, but like it never happens. This isn't exactly a bad thing, but it does kind of feel like a missed opportunity. It makes sense, considering what Mikami said about wanting the dinosaurs to feel threatening and killing the player in 1 to 2 hits. And you do get to face off against the Rex in a couple of these, like, kind of bite-sized sequences, but you never get, like, an honest-to-God fight. I could see them, I can understand them not wanting, like, a straight-up fight against a dinosaur, but I could also see them implementing some sort of, like, environmentally focused boss fight, like the Neptune fight from the Resident Evil remake, but, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, you can all come back now. I love the dinos. They have so much personality to them, like with their animations and their behavior. It's not uncommon to see them taking a nap or eating at a carcass or just wandering about the facility. The way they move and sound, it feels really genuine, Mikami said that they wanted the AI to emulate real animal behavior instead of just like a generic enemy AI, and I feel like they did that pretty well, even if they never do quite get the laser fences. This focus on AI behavior did come at a cost though. You notice pretty early on that there is a distinct lack of variety among the dinos, with there only being about 5 different types throughout the entire game. According to Mikami, there was planned to be more, with a Triceratops and Ankylosaurus showing up in the early design documents, but they were cut. The team at Capcom thought it would be more important to showcase unique behaviors among the dinosaurs instead of relying on a larger roster. The game also has fully 3D rendered environments, instead of having 3D models over pre-rendered backgrounds. And while I do like the aesthetic of pre-rendered backgrounds, I have to say the environments in Dino Crisis have always really stood out. It has such a crisp and clean presentation. It's kind of a shame that most of the locations are these sterile, pseudo-futuristic laboratory hallways. I wish we got a little more variety in the locations, because they all look super sharp and they look really good, especially in like the higher resolutions of the GOG version. We also have chunky floating item models in the environment, which is always good. This right here, this is the good stuff. Although unfortunately we don't get any models in the inventory, we just get static pictures. Overall, I just really love the way this game looks, but I mean, that's no surprise. There are like 2 video game aesthetics I adore, and it's like the early polygonal like PS1 look, and like that mid-2000s stencil shadows kind of id Tech 4 look, or like whatever engine Starbreeze was using for their games. Like, if I had it my way, games never would have stopped looking like this. This right here. This is fucking peak. I also really like the game's sound design. Everything from the bloopy sounds you get when you're clicking through your inventory, to the dinosaurs, whether it be the sound of their claws on the metal floor or their roars and growls. And just the environmental sound design. I really didn't think about it much when I was actually playing the game, but watching through the footage after the fact, I just really like the way this game sounds. The OST has a really good blend of like frantic chase music and uncanny atmospheric tracks. It all melds with the setting really well. I really like how all the characters are written and the camaraderie they have with each other. I like their banter and I like their little jokes. They feel like real people, as opposed to like the premium cheese you would get in like the original Resident Evil trilogy. And while I do also really enjoy that cheese, I appreciate how the Dino Crisis crew feels genuine.
Good news! I got the control system back online. What's the situation over there?
It's Gale. I lost him.
So what's the bad news? Did you run into some guards?
You're not gonna believe this. He was attacked by some kind of dinosaur.
Now that's a good one. So, who was it? Barney?
This isn't a joke, you idiot. We were just attacked by a big-ass lizard.
Now that I think about it, that Mikami interview said that they... what was it? They used The Last Boy Scout, that Bruce Willis movie, as like inspiration for all like the characters' banter with each other, or something like that. I don't know. He brought up that movie when talking about writing the characters. That's all I know. I've never seen the movie, so I don't know how accurate the characters are to that, and to compare to Dino Crisis. So I don't. I do specifically feel bad for Regina, though, because good God, this woman gets absolutely battered throughout the course of this game. Like, the only character I can think of that's like an equivalent to just like how much she canonically gets her ass kicked is like Ethan Winters or like Lara Croft in like the remake Tomb Raider, like the first one, where Regina is just constantly getting bitten and picked up and shaken and jumped on and flung around. It's like a goddamn ragdoll. And it's not action movie violence either. It's just like a 100-pound woman getting routinely bodied by giant chickens. She truly goes through what I can only describe as an ordeal. Like, girl, you've earned that hazard pay. Holy shit. Okay, so this is gonna sound a bit facetious, and I want to stress that I don't mean it to be, but I was honestly kind of surprised when I found out that the same team that worked on the first Resident Evil also worked on this. I knew that Mikami had directed it, but I always had this like thought in the back of my head that Dino Crisis was worked on by like a B team at Capcom, like it wasn't like a main team. The reason I assume that is because like there are a handful of weird little decisions within Dino Crisis that make me think like a more junior team may have been the ones working on it. Little oddities in the gameplay or the design. Things that like aren't present here that were present in Resident Evil. The biggest of which is that there's no way to save memos. In Resident Evil, at least if I'm remembering this correctly, everything you read is stored in the memo tab so you can read it later. That's not the case for Dino Crisis. If you want to reread a memo, you have to go back to wherever you found it. It's really strange because you need to pay more attention to the memos in Dino Crisis, like, more than usual. Like, there are codes and employee numbers and instructions that you need to refer back to. So, like, if you're a dumbass like me, who forgets things almost immediately after reading them, and you didn't write them down the first time, then you're gonna be doing a lot of backtracking just to reread things. Also, this could just be a me thing, but I had a hard time figuring out what could be interacted with in the environment. Like, I know that Regina turns her head towards interactable objects when you walk by them, but, you know, maybe sometimes I didn't notice that. Maybe I was a little preoccupied. Maybe because I was being chased by, like, a fucking dinosaur or something. It's missing that, like, again, I could be misremembering, but I swear, like, at least in, like, the first 3 Resident Evils, they had that, like, that glint or that shine on them. I don't know. Maybe I'm just misremembering all of this, but yeah, I had a trouble seeing which things in the environment I could actually interact with. There are other smaller things as well, like not being able to see how many bullets your weapons can hold, not being told the results of what you're mixing until you've already mixed it, having to mix things in a specific mix tab instead of just being able to combine them in your normal inventory, having to use keys directly from the inventory instead of like just automatically using a key when you walk up to a door. I mean, most of this is just weird little nitpicks, and they don't hinder my enjoyment of the game. It's just, I always just found it kind of odd. So for this playthrough, I played through the GOG version of Dino Crisis, and all in all, it's a fantastic port. It looks good, it plays good, it has good controller support. Overall, wonderful job. I do have one gripe with it specifically, and that's that almost everything is unlocked from the get-go. Like, all the costumes are enabled by default, and you only have to beat the game once in order to get the infinite grenade launcher instead of getting all 3 endings. I would have appreciated it if those little things were left as unlockables, like giving me kind of more reason to complete the game multiple times. But, I mean, that's about it. Everything else is just stellar. I do like how, in terms of the costumes, I like how the cave woman costume actually changes the appearance of the weapons and their upgrade parts. It's a nice touch. Also, I'm surprised we don't get like a leather jacket Regina costume like we see on the end screen here. Also, another thing I didn't really notice until looking at all the footage here is that the game takes into account what weapons you're holding during the cutscenes, and it's just a nice little touch. Dino Crisis released at a time that Capcom was absolutely killing it with the survival horror genre. Resident Evil released in 1996, with the director's cut version releasing a year later in 1997. Resident Evil 2 released in 1998, and both Resident Evil 3 and Dino Crisis would release in 1999. Capcom found a formula that worked and they were cashing it, and Dino Crisis was them experimenting with that formula and trying to fundamentally alter where the horror came from. And I always thought that this game was an interesting take on that formula. In some ways it feels almost like a wayward evolution of the hunter-type enemy, introduced with Resident Evil 2's Mr. X or Resident Evil 3's Nemesis. Like, what if every enemy is just doing that all of, or most of, the time? Instead of populating the cold hallways of Iblis Island with shambling fodder, what if every enemy is bigger, stronger, and faster than you? And honestly, in a lot of ways it works. The thrill of the chase is never not exciting. Dino Crisis also does a really good job at balancing that feeling of vulnerability that's so important to the genre. You never quite feel hopeless or find yourself in unwinnable situations, but you also never really feel like you're in control. It's a good twist on a familiar flavor, and I would really love to see Capcom acknowledge the series' existence, at least in a way that's not saying there's no market for it, then citing that Monster Hunter has already covered the market of dinosaurs. Why would you make me choose? Why are you doing this to me, Mikami? This one took longer than usual. Sorry for that. I had to rewrite a chunk of it because I realized that I would just keep referencing and comparing it to Resident Evil, and it didn't feel right doing that. So I tried to change it up and, talk more about the game on its own terms instead of just constantly bringing up Capcom's other output. There's still some, allusions and comparisons I make, but I tried. I cut a lot of that out. I've also just been experiencing some, I don't know if it's creative block or fatigue, but I don't know. The time has been moving too fast, and I've been getting nothing done. And no writing, no editing, nothing. And it's just been like that for a couple of weeks, or a couple of months at this point. I'm rambling. Okay. GOG has rolled out their Dream List, which is a really cool thing. So you can now go over to GOG.com and vote on what games you would like to see them try and add to their catalog. It's really neat, and I hope some good things come of this, because I love to see the effort of not only getting pre-existing games fixed up for modern Windows, but the adding of older and out-of-print games. I would especially love to see some older games that are stuck on the PS1 and the Dreamcast, like Parasite Eve, maybe some Illbleed, things like that. I would also love for games that were marred by the gnarled claws of Games for Windows Live to get resurrected, like my beloved Lost Planet 2 and Viva Pinata. Please go to GOG.com and hit that Viva Pinata button. It needs you. Also, there may, perchance, be some non-video game stuff coming up. I haven't started working on it all that much, but I'm saying it here in hopes that me putting it out there will help materialize it into being. So potentially look out for that. Here's hoping. And that's it. That is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you immensely. And stay safe and take care of yourselves.
Oh, Secret Regina.